Hey everybody, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and for today's video, I will be unboxing the Game Night Free-for-All box set that was released in October of 2022. Before I get to the video, I want to first take a moment to let you know that if you'd like to help support my channel, you can do so in a few ways. The easiest ways to show your support are by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, sharing any of my content out on your socials, and/or by watching some of my many other videos. Additionally, you can support the channel by purchasing Super Thanks, channel memberships, decks that you may see on the channel directly from me on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page, and/or visiting our sponsor at arcane-fortress.com and using discount code BlueBear at checkout if you decide to purchase any of their amazing gaming supplies from them. Anything that you can do to help support my small channel is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for it. Now with that out of the way, let's get started on today's video. So as I said, for this video, I will be unboxing the Game Night Free-for-All box set and showing you everything that came with it. In addition to that, I will also go over each deck individually so you can see absolutely everything that you need to know about this product so you can decide for yourself if it's worth purchasing for you and your group. I purchased this on sale during the holiday season for $30, but I can see it's slightly more than that as of the making of this video. While I purchased it specifically to make this video, the exclusive foil cards that are included in each deck are a nice bonus to add to my own collection. So let's just get to it, and I'll show you what's in the box. So for this Game Night package, this is what the outside of the box looks like. There are a couple other ones. This is the newest one out there, and it's a little different than those, but not much. On the back, it's, gather your friends and go wild. It's got the 5 decks. Here's everything inside of it. I'll go over all that in a couple seconds. It's just the 5 decks. It's got the spin down life counters. It's got other little things in here. So the one thing I want to point out is you don't normally see an actual paper rulebook anymore. So that's kind of interesting to see that it's actually in a package. So let's open this up. We got the packaging open. This is a big box, by the way. It's not one of the smaller ones. So here we go. Ta-da! So here's the rulebook and play guide. This is, like I said, an unusual thing because they don't have a lot of paper ones anymore. They usually tell you to go online or they have somebody teach you in person. So that's nice to actually have. It's an in-depth way in a newer form. So the original books used to be these little books like about that big. This one's in color, it's not in black and white, and it has a lot of detail in there. So that's a nice little addition finally to see. Then we got some packaging, that's not going to do anything. And we got this. This is all the little punch outs that you will use. It's got +1/+1 counters. These little life total things aren't really going to help. I guess you're supposed to put the spin down on top of that so people know where to look for life totals. It is what it is. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's a little extra. All right, then we've got the spin downs. I'm assuming since, it's a 5-color thing, it's supposed to be one of each color. We've got the white, we've got the blue, we've got the black, the red, and the green. So all the spin downs are here. And then we've got the 5 decks. Here are the names. So we've got Political Trickery as the blue one. Dark Sacrifice is the black one. Draconic Fury is the red one. Boundless Elves, I mean, that's pretty basic right there, so I'm going to assume dragons and elves. Political Trickery could be stealing stuff. Dark Sacrifice will have some sacrifice shenanigans, I'm sure. And then the white deck is Glorious Combat, so I'm sure white weenie of some sort. But I'll go over these decks if you want to see what they all look like. The rest of the box is just this nice little insert that it holds 5 decks. That's pretty nice. So let's take these out, and we'll go over this just for a second. And it's not really anything too special, but it does hold the decks nicely. Nice and firm. Holds dice, so you can keep the set together if you want to just have a nice little fun game night with your friends. Additionally, one of the other things that they did was the little punch outs that you get. You can actually put them all right in the center here. And then the life counter, life total things you can put right here. And it'll look very nice and neat. And then, of course, you put everything back in. All the dice. And then the decks fit in really well, even when they're not packaged. So before I showed you when they were packaged, but this is what it looks like when they're not. So you put every single deck with the die that it's the same color. They fit in nicely. If I knew how to do it. And then it just goes back together nicely like that. Of course, I didn't put them in right. There we go. So they go in nice and tight, and then the box just goes right on top. So that was everything that came in this box set. It wasn't all that much in the grand scheme of things, but I'm not done just yet. There are still 5 monocolored decks to go over, so let's get to that right now. Remember that I mentioned earlier that each deck comes with 1 card that's unique to this box set and is foil, so I will single them out each time for you. I'll be going in the color order given by Wizards, known simply as WUBRG, or white, blue, black, red, and green, so up first is the white deck. The name for the white deck is Glorious Combat, and my guess was that it's a white weenie combat-based strategy going by its name, so let's see if I'm right. The special card for this deck is called Zamriel, Seraph of Steel. Zamriel is a 4-mana, 3/4 legendary angel that has flying and an ability that states as long as it's your turn, equipped creatures you control have indestructible. As for the rest of the deck, here is the list. From what I see, this deck isn't technically a white weenie style as I tried to predict, but instead is actually closer to a starter deck that I make and sell that I call Heavy Metal. The premise of this deck is to use creatures that benefit from being equipped, then jam a bunch of equipment onto them and attack incessantly. While this is an okay tactic for 1v1 games, it seems kind of lackluster for a multiplayer 60-card fun, which is the point of this box set. There are a couple of shining spots for this deck though. The removal, while limited in number, is pretty good, and the inclusion of a Colossus Hammer and Argentum Armor can make you a threat if not dealt with. The name for the blue deck is Political Trickery, and my guess for this deck strategy was stealing other people's things. The special card for this deck is called Maeve, Insidious Singer. Maeve is a 4-mana, 3/4 legendary siren with an ability that states for every 1 blue and 2 generic mana that you pump into it, you goad target creature, then if that creature attacks one of your opponents this turn, you draw a card. Here is the list for the rest of this deck. What I see from this list is a couple of cards that force your opponents into having to make lesser of two evils choices, and then some control spells, but nothing that steals opposing permanents, so I'm 0 for 2. Just like the white deck, I see this being better 1v1 than in a multiplayer setting. Typically, counter magic doesn't bode well in multiplayer, and honestly, the rest of the deck minus Maeve is kinda garbage. The black deck is called Dark Sacrifice, and my guess for this deck's strategy was that it obviously has a sacrifice theme. The special card for this deck is called Vogar, Necropolis Tyrant. Vogar is 5 mana to cast for a 4/4 legendary zombie giant with menace and 2 other abilities. The first ability says that whenever another creature dies during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And the second ability says that when Vogar dies, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Here is the list for the rest of this deck. From what I see, this deck has a very small sacrifice theme to it, but mostly it's a zombie deck, so I was half right. With a little removal, a little card draw, and multiple zombie lord buffs, this is easily the best deck so far. The fact that it can also reanimate stuff from the grave means that this one has just about everything you would want for a multiplayer game to win, so this one will be hard to beat. The red deck is called Draconic Fury, and my guess for this deck strategy was Dragon Tribal because what else could it be? The special card for this deck is called Nogi, Draco Zealot. Nogi is 3 mana to cast for a 3/3 legendary Kobold Shaman with 2 abilities. The first ability says that dragon spells you cast cost 1 generic mana less to cast, and the second ability says whenever it attacks, if you control 3 or more dragons, until end of turn, Nogi becomes a dragon with base power and toughness 5/5 and gains flying. Here is the list for the rest of this deck. From what I can see from this list, this deck does in fact have a dragon theme to it. The addition of cost reduction for dragons, combined with a little burn and a Dragon Tempest, makes this deck okay in a multiplayer setting. Not great, mind you, but definitely better than the white and blue decks. Additionally, most dragons inherently have flying, so that gives a small edge to the creatures in this deck. The other decks have some flying to help, but this deck is essentially the only quote-unquote flying deck of the bunch. And finally, the green deck is called Boundless Elves, and of course I guessed it's an elf deck. The special card included in this deck is called Imril, Elfheim Elite. Imril is 4 mana to cast for a 3/3 legendary elf warrior with 2 abilities. The first ability says that whenever it attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves that you control, and the second ability says that you may have Imril assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. Here is the list for the rest of this deck. Yep, that's an elf deck alright. Mana Dorks? Check. Elf Lords? Check. Something to boost your elves and give them trample? Check and check. This is pretty much your staple budget elf build here, and while this strategy shines in 1v1, you'll actually be shocked at how good it can be in multiplayer too. The only thing that hurts this deck is its lack of flying. It does have some reach, but it may not be enough to keep up with the rest of the decks that came with this box set. Don't sleep on this deck though. Elf decks can be quite quick, so don't be surprised if you're defeated before you even get going with the other 4 decks. So that's everything, including all 5 decks, that comes in the Game Night Free-for-All box set. In my opinion, the theory of this was a great idea, but the execution fell a little flat. I've been wanting to play the old school way of multiplayer Magic for a little while now, and I was hoping products like this would help garner other people's interest in it, but sadly this product did not help. The decks are completely unbalanced against each other, and there aren't a lot of truly multiplayer cards in this product to boot. I get that this is a cheaper product, but damn, throw in some stuff that's focused on multiplayer and not those crappy Vows and Howling Golems. This set makes me want to create an actual 60-card multiplayer box set of my own, so I think that's what I'm going to do. In the coming weeks, you may see me start advertising an actual non-commander multiplayer set of decks on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page, so stay tuned for that. Let's see if I can fix this mess of a product up the right way. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and please go watch some of my many other videos, as I'm sure you'll find something that you like. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.